this time it's going to be OMG over on the... In fact, they're going to go on the blue side. It's going to be JDG on the red side once again. So we'll see. Aphelios, once again, not going to be banned away. It's Pantheon, Kiana, Varus, and it's Rumble, Lucian, Akali. I believe those are the exact same bans as game number 1. And it looks like Aphelios... SMLZ is just... He's thanking his lucky moons, if you will, as he gets Aphelios 2 games in a row.
And now I want to see if this is just JDG figuring out what the game plan is for Aphelios. Picking up the Misfortune can do a good job of keeping him in check in lane, and then you've got the Kindred to keep him in check out of lane.
Looks like Misfortune may well be the answer here for the side of JDG. The question to me is, what else are they going to lock in? We've seen a lot of priority on junglers in the early stages of the draft, quite a bit of priority on supports as well.
Yeah, I think I'd imagine that you're going to see something like the Gragas locked in for Kanavi or the Kindred if they do want to go back towards it. I'd be a little bit worried about leaving the Gragas open when you do have the Misfortune there, because you do want to try and get that counter pick away, not have the cask interrupting the bullet time. The Leona, fantastic pick to lock in with the Misfortune because it sets you up so well in that bottom lane. Huge amount to CC means you can rip through health bars on the bottom side of the map with that ultimate from the Misfortune.
Yeah, Leona going to be the lock-in here. And, I mean, already the Nautilus being hovered. Things like the Braum also available there. Things like the Thresh we've seen a little bit in Tahm Kench. I'd love to see something like Tahm Kench alongside the Aphelios just to keep him safe, keep him protected. But the Thresh... just as good at that job. He can always get that lantern off, pull your teammate's safety, and it is in fact going to be the Ornn taken away. This time it's Curse taken into the top lane.
You've got the Leona locked in, you know you're going to be safe from the Braum, so now Zoom is going to get a taste of his own medicine without the little cushion of protection that OMG were offered in the last game. The Mordekaiser was left open though, and that is perfect for Zoom. Big fan of this Mordekaiser, one of his most played in the summer split, and now has the opportunity to play it into the Ornn, which will give him pretty much free lane in that top side of the map.
Yeah, this is going to be a difficult fight for Curse up in that top lane. You know, Ornn offers a lot to your team. It offers a lot in terms of forging those items and in terms of the ultimate and team fights. But realistically, when it comes to the 1v1, Zoom going to have a massive advantage on the Mordekaiser.
And the beautiful thing as well with the Mordekaiser is that you can Death Realm the Ornn if you want to. That means you can't follow up in the Call of the Forge God. So kind of the pseudo Braum coming in to try and protect the team in that respect. But we are going to be into that second ban phase with no junglers picked up. They're going to be the ones that JDG are looking to ban away. Hacker won't be getting his hands again on that Jarvan. And it will be the Olaf that's gone away as well. But still leaving up that Gragas that we talked about.
Olaf and Jarvan taken away. Rise on the other side. Now OMG have to pick one other ban. I'm curious to see whether that will go towards the mid lane as well. Just continue to pinch the pool here for Yagao. Cassiopeia is still open right now. It's something that was played in the last game. It's actually going to be Gragas, so the jungle pool going to continue to be pinched here. Looks like... I mean, we've still got a couple of options available for the side of the jungle. We'll see what's going to be picked on up here. Importantly, Elise still available. It's something that was banned every game in the last series. It's not even had any presence in this one.
Yeah, that was the first jungler that came to mind when I was looking at this. I mean, we saw some bans tossed towards the Spider Queen, but haven't seen anything from her in this series. And it wouldn't be the worst of ideas to get it set up. You've got good synergy with the support there. We can go for this pick-heavy style, especially when you've got the Ornn there to come in from a little bit further away. So it makes the most sense for OMG's composition to just go for Elise here and lean into that pick style.
Yep, go for a pick style composition. Try and set your Aphelios up just to do a chunk of damage to whoever gets grabbed there. And now we'll see what the mid lane pick is going to be to round out OMG's composition. What's Icon going to get? Irelia is the answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't even have to toss that one there. That was just instant lock-in for Icon. So we'll be seeing the double melee coming in, and that's kind of lending itself off of the Elise pickup. It means that you've still got that AP damage there. So now we could potentially look to see the map split up by OMG and try and have the Irelia off in the side lane.
Now, the final lock-in for JDG is going to be that Lee Sin going towards Kanavi in the jungle, deciding to go away from the Kindred this time. Doesn't want to try and skirmish against Elise here. But I'm excited for this mid-lane matchup here. LeBlanc up against Irelia. That is a tough matchup. And I mean, talk to me a little bit about that mid lane, because I'm not really sure how that one goes down.
Yeah, it's kind of a case of Yagao has to be very careful as to when he initiates with the distortion, because the Aurelia can get the stun with the flawless duet. She has to try and play around when Yagao is going to go back, but if Yagao never goes back towards that distortion, well, fantastic. Aurelia can just jump on top of her then at that point. Going to be very much a skill matchup and trying to figure out what way this LeBlanc is going to be bouncing, and I think that jungle intervention is definitely going to be needed to try and equalize that to a certain extent.
Well, you can see the coaches head to the stage to shake hands as we're ready to kick this one off. JDG are 1-0 up in the series so far, and OMG are looking to answer as we head into the second game of the series. Both early game junglers coming on through, though, for Kanavi and Hacker. We'll see who's going to be able to take an edge in this Lee Sin Elise matchup. Excited for the mid-jungle kind of 2v2 that's coming our way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very impactful in this game. We have been harking on about it a little bit, but definitely when you see the likes of Lee Sin and Elise, two champions that want to get out onto the map early, particularly looking at that Elise, could potentially go for those tower dives. That's something that you've always got to be paying attention to when you do see the Spider Queen up and available. But this is where I want to see the impact had from OMG.
I love the stark contrast there between the Yagao headband and the like stony-faced fan until he suddenly sees he's on camera. He's like, oh, hey, I'm on camera. Oh, dear. But here we go. These are our lineups as we get ready to jump onto the map. You can see this is going to be an explosive game. Keep your eyes on SMLZ once again with the Aphelios. It's such an incredibly strong pick. This pick composition might just lend to a victory for OMG. On the other side of the board, though, JDG, they've got a lot of team fight prowess. They've got a lot of upfront damage. And we'll see if they've got enough to take this second game on the trot. We're heading on to Summoner's Rift for game number 2 between JDG and OMG.
I think the cheers are coming at some point. Maybe they've gone quiet. Maybe they're just, you know what, we've got this. It's been game 1 was kind of easy. Oh. It was a game of chicken that I lost.
Yeah, you lost badly. You lost badly. OMG kind of winning out on the chance, though, it feels like, honestly, to me. JDG, though, they don't care about chance. They're 1-0. They're winning in games right now, and that's what really matters. And we'll see if they can keep the ball rolling here. So far, 1:30 into the game, gold's still just about even here. There's no minions have spawned, but here we go. I'm curious to see how this one's going to pan out. I'm curious to see the top lane as well, because last game, we saw quite a different matchup where the Ornn was on the side of Zoom. He wasn't really able to have a huge impact. He was the one on the back foot. This time, he's the one on the aggressive bit.
Yeah, and I think that, again, we're going to see Zoom getting a lot of help from Kanavi. If you can get this Mordekaiser rolling, well, we've already seen how devastating he can be in team fights. He can be fantastic in the split push. And I think as well, since you've gone for the melee option for Icon, Yagao should be able to shove in that wave pretty effectively and start to make the roam up towards that top side of the map to help out. Kanavi, though, looking for an invade. We'll know that Hacker is still on this, but Hacker will also realize Kanavi is just waiting in the bush.
Yeah, Hacker, aware of the situation, is going to be able to play safely around that red buff. Pulls it all the way around so that it's not stealable by Kanavi. And now heading towards the bot side, but it looks like he will just be clearing away his jungle rather than trying to make any crazy level 2 plays.
Now, we'll hit level 3 off the Krugs here, so I'd imagine that we're going to see a bit of a scrap potentially over this Scuttle Crab on the bottom side of the map, but with OMG and SMLZ and Cole pushing in, this should be going across to the Elise, and Kanavi will have to make his way back up towards that top side of the map.
Should be pretty safe for Hacker to go for that. He will have to walk past a ward if he goes through Tribrush, though, so there'll be full information for JDG that that's happening. And actually, he goes for the scan. It didn't hit the ward, I don't think, so he's not even going to know that that information is in the pocket of JDG, so I mean, I don't think Kanavi's going to really contest him anyway. We'll have to see.
No, I'd be very surprised if they did, although, as I say, that Yagao has pushed in the mid wave, so starting to come across, see if they can collapse on this, but It's going to be a little bit late for JDG's bottom lane to come across. So yeah, that will go across the Hacker. Kanavi will be able to get towards the top side to get his own Scuttle Crab up that way. And when all is said and done, no conflicts so far in the map.
I thought that was going to be something there. I saw Yagao moving down on the mini-map. I thought we were going to have an early skirmish on these early game junglers, but it's not going to be the case just yet. Lumao going to be denied his recall there. Navi looking for a play up towards the top side. Curse. Oh, that was beautiful, man. Bellows Breath going to keep him away from the CC, and then a cute little sidestep backwards to dodge Kanavi.
They won't be able to get on towards the Ornn, but you can see already both these junglers are trying to see if they can get some sort of early game advantage for themselves. I'd imagine the Hacker is really the one that wants to try and get up to influence the top side of the map, because trying to keep this Mordekaiser in check should be top priority for them. Make sure that Yagao and Kanavi can't get up like they did in the last game to try and get Zoom ahead.
Well, it's going to be Icon has to head back to base relatively early here. He's going to grab himself a couple of swords to go back on into the lane with. Yagao putting down a good amount of damage to start things off.
So one of the good things that, well, not so good I suppose if you're a play-by-play caster, is we're actually going to have Infernal Drake up first in this game. So it won't be the soul that we see in this one. It means that a little bit of scrapping might be happening in the early stages over OMG and JDG trying to get their hands on that. Will definitely help out the likes of the Elise and the Aurelion, just having that little bit of extra damage to go for those assassinations.
We'll see if they're going to go for that objective, whether or not we see a big contest coming on through. Lumao has head back to base, so if Hacker were to start immediately, maybe there'd be no contest. But here we go, Zoom knows he's on the aggressive pick and wants to make sure that Curse knows it too. Won't be able to find a kill, but certainly getting a good amount of damage down. And as we head towards a fresh minion wave, the top lane is on exactly the same CS.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same across the board, apart from that bottom lane where SMLZ and Code have managed to get themselves a bit of an advantage. But I think that's more so them knowing that Elise is around the corner. But Yagao?
Good little bit of CC coming out from Yagao. Icon will walk away. Lumao hanging in the wings as well as Kanavi, but I don't think they can quite force the issue just yet. Hacker is going to spot the situation, goes for a stun, and there's a follow-up coming out from Cold. Kanavi flashes away, but the Ignite is ticking, and that's a kill going the way of Cold. In the meantime, Lumao now tries to get away, and Icon just doesn't have the damage.
And this is OMG reading what JDG are trying to do in this game. In the last one, Lumao roamed up to try and make a gank in the mid lane. Around about the 6 mark, they do the exact same thing again, but this time OMG are waiting for them and ready. Managed to pick off the two members, or well, one of the members in the brush. And that's going to be them slowing down JDG on the game plan of getting their solo lanes rolling.
Great start here for OMG. Much more convincing than we saw out of them in game number 1. Although I say that, it was a very even game for about, what, 20-25 minutes. It was just once that Infernal Soul came down, or not even the Soul, just fighting for the Soul, that was when it all kicked off. The second Infernal Drake was when everything fell apart for OMG. So it's good to see them grabbing themselves a small lead in the early game. The question is, can they transition it to anything? Can they do something with this lead?
We'll have to see if they can. I think, in theory, they should be able to start to make the plays with Hacker. The Elise, I want to see a bit more action from Hacker. Relatively quiet on the Jarvan in the early game. In the last set, despite the fact that they'd gotten the advantage over Kanavi to begin with. But Hacker going back, farming up, not really getting the aggression to get the wards in towards the river particularly much. Well, there is one at the back of red, but try and get more aggressive vision to allow himself to go for these ganks.
Zoom going to have complete control in this top lane. Very difficult for Curse to get on towards the CS, but it is going to be pushing towards him, so eventually he'll be able to just farm all of that CS underneath the tower. It can be difficult as Ornn, though, to clear out an entire minion wave. Quite often you can be denied quite a few by the turret.
You can see mines are starting to drift towards this Infernal Drake, though. Pink wards galore coming out from OMG to try and keep control in around that objective. But again, we're seeing Hacker, the big issue, not really prioritizing down towards the bottom lane. This is something that JDG have JDG have often gone for trying to prioritize Zoom and Yagao, and I think Hacker is trying to read into that a little bit too much and play around this top side.
Well, speaking of the top side, Hacker going to start off this Scuttle Crab. He's going to be trading it for a Dragon. Not sure if OMG really get the best of this trade, but that's okay. Kanavi going to be happy with this objective, and at least OMG gets something out of this. At least they're not just conceding the Dragon for nothing. And if you can find the right situation, Rift Herald can still be an incredibly strong objective. It's just, if you only get the 2 turret plates, it doesn't really feel that worth it.
And that's the big problem that a lot of people are seeing with the Rift Herald right now, is that it's more of a win more objective, because if you're already in the lead, it can help you secure a few more turret plates, help you get that snowball rolling, and maybe, you know, getting that third plate or the tower entirely if your top laner is doing well. The problem is OMG are not really in a position to go for that. They're not in control of mid lane. You don't really want to put all that investment into the likes of an Ornn, who's you're not going to get use out of. And OMG are not in control of this bottom side either, with Loken, Lumao and Kanavi trying to see if they can make a dive.
Yeah, they were positioning for it, but you could see SMLZ and Cold backed away, respecting the situation that was happening, respecting that that could be an option. And they're going to be rewarded for that safe play there. And when you take a look towards the mid lane, Icon actually building up quite a significant CS lead there. 20 CS ahead on this Aurelia pick. Yagao obviously was close to getting a kill earlier, but couldn't quite finish the job. And now Hacker actually going to be joining him in this mid lane. Going to drop down the Rift Herald. And she scans immediately afterwards. I think that was a misclick from spamming the Herald.
Well, Lumao and Loken are going to be here to keep this one at bay, so won't be able to get all the turret plates that they would have liked, but at least it's a decent cash injection in towards Icon in the mid lane.
Yeah, 240 gold straight into Icon's pocket. They're going to be happy with that one when he's already got a CS lead as well. He can either head back and spend that gold immediately, or I think he's going to stick around for another wave or two. And he's going to be looking to finish off an item or two here. And Aurelia, it's one of those champions that once you get 1 or 2 items going, you can spike incredibly hard.
Yeah, and the good news as well is that you have the Ravenous Hydra already picked up, so makes it a lot more difficult for Yagao to try and get out of lane and start to make those roams happen. And this can just start to teeter into the likes of that Triforce. Then you can become this side lane, very strong assassin. If you pair that with Kurtz coming across with the Call of the Forge God into the ultimate from the Aurelia, that's going to be a lot of damage very quickly jumping onto the likes of Loken in the back.
So far, so good for OMG. Just under 2,000 gold in the lead as we're 11 minutes on into the game. They are down in Dragons, though, currently. That Infernal Drake going the way of JDG. The next one going to spawn in 2.5 minutes. It's going to be that Cloud Drake. So, you know, definitely a lot stronger of a Drake than it used to be. Like, let's bear in mind, in case you guys are new here, in case you've not watched anything since last season, Cloud Drake now gives ultimate CDR. It's a big, big Drake now, especially in the early stages of the game. The Soul, not as impactful as some of the others in my opinion, but when it comes to the individual Drakes, it can be massive.
Yeah, and especially if you look at some of the ultimates that are available on OMG, if you're getting 10% cooldown reduction on, you know, Call of the Forge God, on the Vanguard's Edge.
Elise's Transform.
Yeah, the Elise's Transform. But the box as well for Cold. I mean, these are some big ultimates that can be pretty defining in team fights. So picking up this Infernal Drake, this Cloud Drake even, could be really beneficial for OMG. And conversely on JDG's side, more access to your bullet time, to your Death Realm, or Realm of, I've forgotten that, Death Realm anyway.
Of Death.
Realm of Death, that's the word I was looking for. But yes, these are going to be fantastic for the side of JDG.
We'll see if they're going to be able to grab that for themselves. Still a minute away, and you can see OMG already starting to posture towards that Hacker's head down towards the bottom side of the map. Just going to be clearing vision and then resetting before the objective spawns. Zoom, he's looking for a 1v1 right now. Takes Curse into the Shadow Realm. He's actually taken a lot of damage so far. He's not actually winning this 1v1. Curse does find his way out of there. And well, all said and done, it's just ult for ult.
Yeah, with no more cooldowns available, I think Zoom might have been able to get the upper hand if that fight was to continue, but Curse does back away. Will mean that Zoom is going home at the moment. So we'll have the buy-in and be able to teleport over, but at the moment we'll need to get up towards that top lane to clear out the wave, and maybe Curse can just come in straight away towards this fight in and around the Cloud Drake.
We're going to be clearing some vision here. 20 seconds till that Cloud Drake going to be hitting the map. And turret plate's going to be falling shortly as well, so looks like Curse, I don't think he's even going to be able to get that one for himself. Zoom's arrived back in this top lane. But the Drake is really what we're going to be looking at here, because Kanavi has arrived on the scene. They're setting up to make sure that JDG have priority here, and Lu Mao happy to be aggressive on this Leona. You can be so aggressive. It's very difficult to punish a Leona.
They were hoping to try and make a play before the Ornn had gotten back to base, so the health discrepancy between Zoom and Curse would have been able to turn that fight, but unfortunately not able to connect the Zenith Blade. Means they can't find the fight. Ornn is now walking his way over towards the Cloud Drake while Zoom goes onto the top side.
The Flash Flake comes through from Cold here, but immediate counter engage going down, but the kick onto Hacker will keep him alive for now. Dodges the bullet time with the repel, but there goes Zoom. Gets an obliterate. It's 2 kills on the other side for Icon though. He's going crazy as Loken shuts him down. In the end, Zoom once again on the backline. SMLZ falls. It's another kill going the way of Loken here, and Curse finds himself alone. OMG once again lose the 5v5.
Fantastic decision making from Lu Mao there to turn on the aggression and find that team fight victory for JDG. OMG keep opting into these fights, but unfortunately they don't have the coordination the same way JDG do. And again, get the Dragon going over in favor. Well, Dragon's still up, but should be able to go in favor of JDG if they end up fighting over this objective again.
And we were saying that, you know, Loken coming back on into this roster, he had to replace Imp, you know. There's a big shoes to fill. So far, amazing. He's got a triple kill for himself.
And this looks like Lu Mao getting caught out, but having the presence of mind to turn on to Hacker, you've got a fantastic ultimate from Loken coming over the wall to split up this fight. OMG just crumple underneath the pressure in what was another fight they opted into.
And so important that Zoom teleports in here. He zones 3 players out of this fight by himself, meaning that the rest of the fight is basically a 4 versus 2. He can comfortably do that on this Mordekaiser. He's only going to get stronger as well. Phenomenal stuff coming out from Zoom here. And we're consistently seeing these Mordekaiser top players being able to do so much to sway the game.
Well, we are going to see the Dragon being gifted over towards OMG as JDG decide they want to go for the Rift Herald instead. MF is pushing down this bottom side, but they do have to be careful that there aren't members from JDG, not from JDG, from OMG coming over to try and collapse on them.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to grab that turret for themselves, or not, maybe not quite. 1 or 2 more autos will do it. There's the love tap just to finish the job. Lu Mao sticking around just to make sure that Loken is perfectly safe grabbing that objective, and now with the Rift Herald, they might look towards the mid lane as well.
If Steve Kanavi decides to toss this one down with Lu Mao backing, I'd be surprised to see it go down. I think they'd rather have pressure on the bottom side of the map from Zoom before they try to use the Rift Herald to take that mid lane turret. And they've got a lot of gold in their pockets as well. You've just seen the Misfortune pick up 2 turrets there, good bit of farm, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them try and spend that before they make any aggressive plays towards objectives.
Everybody heading down towards the bottom side here from JDG. They're looking for Icon. We'll dodge away from the stun. Yagao backs away once again. And now we're going to see the Herald used. It's not going to go mid, it's going to go for this bottom lane tower, and they'll easily be able to finish this objective off with 4 members here. They might look to push a little bit further than just the tier 1 here. They might look to get a charge onto the tier 2 turret as well. Yagao managed to get slow onto Icon there. Won't be able to finish the job just yet.
There's still 2 from OMG in mid lane. JDG could just look for the dive here. Lu Mao was wrapping around.
Look for the dive, or maybe just look for the turret. There's the charge from the Herald, and a comfortable tier 2 take here. Lu Mao doing a great job on Leona just to zone everybody away. And well, that's just how you take objectives 101 right there. No contest from OMG.
And how do you try and now defend this mid lane turret as OMG? You've got no turrets on either of your side lanes. This is open season for JDG in the jungle to try and get vision and wrap around underneath them. We already talked about how strong the dive potential is from JDG. It only became even more potent when they have complete vision control.
very much feels like right now, if you give JDG an inch, they will take a mile. They are comfortable with snowballing. When they find one fight, first off, they team fight brilliantly. They know how to turn that into a win, but off the back of the fight, they will take so much away from you.
JDG are now coming back out onto the map. Mid lane turret is set in their fire. Trying to push in is Loken, keep himself in check, make sure that he's keeping himself safe for the moment, wants to wait for the rest of the team to come out onto the map. Zoom still hovering around in the base, so we need a little bit more time before they can try and push on for this.
Just going to be clearing out the mid lane for now as we wait and see what JDG's next objective will be. 1 minute on the clock until Baron Nashor will spawn onto the map. And that's the point where OMG have to make their mark on this series. If they allow JDG to just control this Baron, I fear it may be all over for OMG. I'm going to have to say, as we take a look at the gold coming out from the turret plates, it is all in the pocket of Curse right here on this side of OMG.
Has been able to pick up quite a few of those turret plates, but that's not the person that you want to be able to pick up those plates. Would much rather have it on Icon or SMLZ, because look at the difference in particular between the AD carries when it comes to those the items. You've got the Infinity Edge alone for Aphelios, whereas if you look over towards a Misfortune, she's picked up an entire Essence Reaver over the Aphelios. This is not where you really wanted this SMLZ to be on what we are calling one of the strongest AD carries, if not the strongest AD carry on this patch.
Now just clearing vision here. 1 minute until the Ocean Drake spawns, but Baron is just about to hit the map in 2 seconds time. Looks like JDG not going to position for that immediately. They know that OMG can't really go for that objective, so they're just going to wait for the Drake. Make sure that they take that one first so that there's no trade available for OMG. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I've never seen that before. When you use your Hex Tech and jump back midway through the animation, you spread further.
It also, yeah, and I do like the change up and build coming through from Yao, going for the Hextech GLP, because Icon looking to dive on several people, and in particular Yao in the lane. The Hextech GLP gives you a little bit more help, also slows down Icon to a certain extent as well, so he's not able to jump on and be the AD assassin that Rally would like to be. Now Yao, though, is on the wrong side of town, but it very quickly could turn into a bit of a problem for OMG, as they have no idea Yao is here.
And with the Ocean Drake changing the map, Yao gets to sit in the back of the Dragon Pit uncontested. Kanavi going to be caught up though. There's a huge stun and immediately flashes away. Vanguard's Edge going to be wasted there from the likes of Icon, and now a TP come through from the likes of JDG. There's a huge bullet time. But no follow-up, good flash to get themselves to safety. JDG wrestle control of this Dragon.
Just about. Zoom still needs to be careful though. Does find Hacker with the Death Grasp, but JDG have managed to force OMG back and will pick up another Dragon for themselves. So 2-1 at the moment, but you can see again OMG are struggling to get any foothold in this game.
That's an aggressive advert for Soda. It's very... I'm struggling with it. It worked, yeah? Man. I'm buying it. I'm buying it right now. I'm going to order it on my phone. 3-5, though, on the scoreboard. 2 dragons in favor of JDG. And 1,000 gold as well. And, well, the objective that you've got to put your eyes towards now is going to be that Baron. And the real question for me is, what can OMG really do about this? Because, ultimately, when it comes to this series so far, OMG haven't won a single team fight against JDG. Every time it's been 5v5, every time it's been a big engage, JDG have been the ones coming out on top.
And how difficult is it going to be for OMG to try and fight in these close corridors if they don't have control around the Baron? Because if you start to fall back into your own jungle for safety, well, Loken's going to be happy to open up with the bullet time. You're going to have the solar flare that can come out from Numao as well and hit onto multiple members. It makes it a lot more difficult for Icon to find the flanks and find a way to dance through these team fights onto the backline. This is not where OMG really wanted to be. They wanted to be the ones in control. We talked about the picks that they could go for with Hacker and with Cold. It becomes a lot more difficult when you're not in control of the game.
Lumao just missed his Zenith Blade on a standing still target. Cold walks away. Cold of the Forge God going to disengage this fight. In the meantime, We got a kill from Hacker going in onto Yagao. They're going to turn this into a bigger fight. Bullet time onto everyone. Curse, the next target, who's going to flash over the wall as Kanavi finishes off cold. And Icon just going to try and walk away with his life. It's a 2-for-1, even though Yagao got caught out.
Yeah, Yagao got dove in the top side of the map by Icon and Hacker, but now they're still trying to see if they can make this one work. JDG being led on a ring around a Rosie, as Icon does make it back towards Hacker and towards the safety of the team.
But look at the positioning. JDG have complete control of the mid lane, and that's going to reward them with this tier 1 tower. Hacker doing what he can, but what he can is not a whole lot right now. 2.5 minutes till the next Drake will spawn. But once again, JDG just can't really look towards this Baron yet.
I mean, it's a bit difficult too when they haven't been able to establish vision control in the area. We talked about how crucial that can be, and you do still have to be careful of, you know, the cocoon, a wild hook coming your direction. So they want to try and make sure that they are taking this nice and slow. They're not losing Yagao like this in the top side of the map before they try and get vision, because Yagao is someone that they most certainly want to be able to move in and around this jungle and pick off the likes of SMLZ in the backline.
That's such a depressing way to die for Yagao. He distorts into the bush to face check and is immediately met by just chain CC. There's nothing he can do to fight back, and then Hacker even flashes after him to go for the tower dive. Brutal death for him, but not the end of the world for his team. They were able to capitalize, force a fight, and turn it into something positive for the team. Now starting to posture around this Baron. Hacker maybe has been caught out. Lumao not going to decide to pull the trigger just yet. Going to keep playing it safe for now. Zoom going to walk forward to make sure that they can take vision control here.
Curse is back in base though, waiting to see if he can use this teleport to join the fight. There's a ward in mid lane that he could have teleported to try and get in on the backside, but not looking to follow that up. Instead, it's going to do the long walk over to try and join the team and see if they can wrestle back control of this Baron pit.
We'll have to see what they've got here. JDG just waiting for this pick to happen. They know that OMG have to face check them. They have to come and test the waters to see if the Baron's happening. Important to mention, there is a Scryer's Orb in the Baron pit for the side of OMG, so they knew the Baron was the start. Bullet time comes on in Call of the Forge God, but Cold goes down first. Vanguard's Edge doesn't do too much for the likes of Icon, as Curse will go gold to keep himself alive, but Icon's been found out all alone in the back. Realm of Death will end. Icon keeps himself alive for now. Not a huge amount coming out from the Moonlight Vigil. And everybody just surviving. It's only Cold that goes down.
Icon wasn't able to get onto the back line or even get on towards Loken because he was abstracted away from the entire game by Zoom, meant that they couldn't try and make that play work, and at least though provided enough of a distraction that they were able to get away from that and shut down the play that JDG were trying to make.
SMLZ currently critting for 666. So with exactly this time in the game and exactly those items, Phileas is the devil child.
I'm glad we've got like more concrete evidence of this to go forward, but hasn't had the biggest impact in this game. I mean, 0-2, you look at his counterpart of the MF, who's very much flying ahead when it comes to those items. And JDG, completely uncontested, pick up their dragon, third one of the game, and now that puts OMG on a timer. 30 minutes means the fourth dragon, that soul, will be picked up, and Ocean Soul is so strong at the moment because you get those in-fight health regen. I mean, if you're JDG and you can see how messy and drawn out these fights can become, if you're healing the whole way through that, you're going to be in a great spot.
I'm just laughing. Yagao used his GLP to try and clear the wave and then realized he had nothing to follow it up and just lost all of the minions to GLP. That's the most depressing thing I've seen all day. Oh dear. Well, here we go. Set it up for Baron now. JDG ready to try and force this objective. They just set up the trap once again. Same situation. Get the entire team on board. Zoom has his teleport available so he can go wherever he wants. Same for Curse there. And OMG just have to try and find a situation where they can protect themselves from losing this Baron, but also not face check so hard that they immediately lose the game.
We are starting to hit the point in the game, though, where Misfortune is starting to fall off. She works fantastic when it gets to that mid-game, but as this game starts to progress, she's not going to be doing as much damage as you'd like. Icon is most certainly starting to come online with the Titanic Hydra completed. this is starting to look like a little bit of a different dice game when we come into the team fights. JDG are going to have to start relying on Zoom's damage a lot more so than they are with Loken, because Yagao has gone for this sort of defensive build rather than building fully for the burst damage.
Yeah, for sure. And important to mention that there is that ward just outside of the Baron Pit for the side of OMG right now. You know the one that ruined teams at Worlds. It's just hiding outside of the Baron Pit, so it's not going to be caught by any control wards in the Baron Pit, and it's often missed by people sweeping around the pit. So OMG very much have vision right now. They know if JDG are going to start that one, but the ward has been spotted. So everything I just said, you can forget I said it.
Look, it was a great point. It's just JDG doing their due diligence here, making sure that they're completely clearing out the pit and having control of River, now pushing in more aggressively, but Pinks are all over the place in this jungle, and you can see OMG are not wanting to give an inch. JD will set up the Baron though.
And I like this because they haven't done this all game. Well, it doesn't really matter anymore because Scry's Orb comes down, but because they just baited all game and didn't actually start it, suddenly it's a lot harder for OMG to tiptoe around. Lumao maybe going to back away here. Doesn't actually want to force the fight just yet because they can force the Baron first. Smite comes in and that's going to be the objective taken. And now JDG forced the fight. Bullet time across a couple, but not doing too much for himself. Lumao walks away from the engage. Hacker wants to turn this into more, trying to get onto Lumao. He's actually just going to repel. Oh, turns into gold right in the middle of the air. Hacker flashes away. Yagao finishes the job, though. The Kurt's trying to zone away. There's nothing he can do. Cold is going to be the next target so low. As Icon wants to do anything he can, but the answer is nothing. He's going to go down in just a couple of seconds, and it's another ace for JDG. These guys are team fighting gods.
Clean ace for JDG. They've got the wave in the bottom lane and the Baron buff to boot. They can now start to move in and clear out these turrets. I mean, with 15 seconds really before Hacker comes up, it's going to be so handy for them to get this inhibitor back away and spend all the gold they just picked up.
Yeah, fantastic situation for JDG here. They're going to grab this bottom lane inhibitor.
They're going for it.
I think they might be able to end the game right here. 20 seconds still on Icon. Important that he survived so long in that team fight. It actually turns into a negative for them. JDG trying to end the game right now. That's going to be both Nexus turrets going down. A beautiful insect onto SMLZ. Good night, Aphelios. 50% win rate, my friend, as the Nexus will fall. JDG start the season strong with it.
And make that happen.
Yeah, fantastic performance coming out from JDG, getting their first win on the board here in the Season 10 of the LPL. That's a 2-0 over OMG, and eStar managing to get a similar performance up against Rogue Warriors earlier on today as well. So two 2-0s on the books, but relatively long games as well, especially in this second series. It felt like JDG, this is a team that wants to play relatively slow during the early and mid game, and then they want that 5v5. They want that miracle fight that just wins them the game on the spot.
Yeah, their team fighting was very strong in this, so I'm not surprised that they're trying to hold out for that. I still think, though, that there's a little bit of ARAM that we saw coming in the game one. Still need to try and knock that one out of their habits, but definitely a strong performance for them for their first game of the split.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely in game number 2 there, it felt a little bit like they weren't 100% sure whether or not they could go for the Baron, whether or not they needed to play the pick. You know, they were waiting around the Baron. They were trying to set up a pick situation. OMG were just like, we're not going to face check you. It's not going to happen. That kind of dance happened for about 5 minutes there. But other than that, phenomenal team fighting coming out from them.
Yeah, they are still similar problems on OMG though from what we saw last split, where not really getting an awful lot of follow-up coming in from the jungle. Hacker was trying to go a bit too aggressive in game number 1, didn't quite work out. And these hero plays that we saw 2 games in a row, Icon trying to flash in the Cassiopeia, and Hacker in that last team fight as well, trying to get the catch that maybe they could pick off after the Baron had been taken, but that was not working out for them. They didn't find anything, and it meant that the whole game fell apart off of just those one team fights.
I mean, Hacker was, on the side of OMG at least, Hacker was the standout player for me, both in Game 1 and Game 2. On the Jarvan, he did a great job trying to force the issue, trying to get onto the back line, and the similar situation with the Elise as well. He was pretty on point with his cocoons, tried to find the pick onto Lu Mao at the end of that last game, but unfortunately not really able to have enough of an impact, and Kanavi at the end of the day was the better jungler.
Yeah, and I think that kind of says a lot about the way JD Gaming, again, we're seeing a similar style. They come into this, Kanavi's playing towards Zoom, he's playing towards Yagao. It's Loken on the bottom side of the map who's not getting a huge amount of input, but this time instead, when he's got Lu Mao at his side, they're pretty happy to just have that stability because Loken doesn't need a huge amount of resources put into him. He's happy to farm up. This was his goal on top esports as well, and it frees Lu Mao to go and play a much more aggressive roaming style, consistently getting towards Yagao in the mid lane around about that 6-minute mark, and this is something that teams are going to have to be prepared for if they play against JDG.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rough start to the season for the likes of OMG. Obviously, we were talking about Icon being the superstar, having the backup singers of SMLZ and Hacker. Hacker's singing in tune. The other two, not so much so far. We'll see if they can pick things up, but let's take a look at some of the highlights of that game.
Yeah, this was such a beautiful setup from JDG. Everything came to fruition. Loken, safe over the wall, was able to open up with a full bullet time. They spread out the fight. Zoom teleporting in keeps SMLZ out. And Curse, because he'd already used the Call of the Forge God in the top side of the map, was a non-factor in this fight. He's more chasing after, going, please guys, wait for me. I want to do something. But all he gave was his life and an extra bit of gold into the pockets of JDG.
Yeah, well, we were talking about the AD carries coming on into this entire series. Loken played out of his mind, getting a triple in the previous fight. His bullet times were great right at the start of every single fight. And just great damage output in general. And that's what you need out of a Misfortune, just good positioning so you can keep lashing out these shots.
Yeah, I was really impressed with JDG here. Yagao as well, I like the adaptation in the build that you saw from the LeBlanc, not going for that full burst, instead opting to go for something that would not only facilitate this team quite well, but keep himself safe so Icon doesn't have a bit of extra gold coming in from kills or whatever it might be to try and be a bit more of a nuisance. And you could see JDG operated off a game plan. Zoom, you're on Icon duty, the rest of us will take care of all of OMG.
Yeah, and Zoom played exceptionally throughout this series. Both games he had a huge impact in these team fights. Great job, especially on this Mordekaiser. You saw the fight earlier where he basically 1v3s while the rest of his team finishes off the game. So phenomenal stuff coming out from the entire roster of JDG. Very impressed by their first performance. The question for me is going to be, can they replicate this kind of performance against more aggressive early game teams? If you're going against someone like FPX, they're not going to let you just farm for 20 minutes and then team fight. They're going to force the issue.
Yeah, and that is a big question. I mean, Kanavi was getting aggressive early, but it is that kind of case of, oh, we're going to abandon the bottom side. And against some of the top teams, they will very easily punish that. But that seems to be the big question for a lot of us here is, how far can this JD Gaming team run? Because we saw it in Demacia Cup. What are they going to be like coming into LPL? We got a little bit of an opening to see what they are potentially could be like, but the rest of the split is where you prove it.
Well, the MVP for this series is going to be Kanavi in the end, and I think well deserved here. Despite falling behind on the Kindred, still had a massive impact in game number 1, and then his Lee Sin in game number 2 was magnificent. Great performance coming out from him, and just setting his team up for success time and time again.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's great to see Kanavi now getting the time on JD Gaming. Oni was there at the end of the summer split, but now coming in as the starter on this roster, coming out with a performance like this where he's got 85.7% kill participation. This guy was involved in everything and was really the shining light for JDG.
He certainly was, and regularly setting up his team, especially Yagao, for these big plays, and it did a decent amount of focus down towards the bottom side as well when the Dragons were coming up. I'm excited to see what Kanavi has ahead of him, because he was a relatively untested player. Well, maybe not untested, but, you know, didn't have a huge reputation.
He's still green
behind
the ears.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited for what's coming up for this guy, because, you know, earning an MVP right here in this series, he was very much one of the stars, and I'm excited to see if he can replicate that against some of the stronger teams in the league.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's it. The big question, can they keep this run going? Can JDG keep this up? I mean, Kanavi's looking strong. You've got their bot lane is looking far better. I mean, Loken, the big problem for me was I was looking at his laning phase when he came in. Far better this time around. Had Lumel there once or twice to get him out of trouble, but other than that, I mean, looked phenomenal, looking far more comfortable in this lineup. We'll have to see if this can continue for them.
Absolutely. Fantastic play across the board from JDG. And with that, let's take a look at our results for the day. It's 2 clean 2-0s. eStars having their debut performance here against Rogue Warriors, a 2-0 victory, and looking convincing as well. And then we've just finished off our second series there with JDG against OMG, another 2-0. And as we take a look, tomorrow's matches going to be BLG up against VG, and it's going to be DMO up against IG as well. Now, these are not going to be broadcast on the mainstream. Wednesdays and Thursdays, we will not have an English stream, so you can go check out the Chinese stream for those ones.
Yeah, and I think these are definitely some games you're not going to want to miss. BLG for Vici is one that I've got my eyes on. I want to see what Vici are going to be capable of doing coming out. I mean, Koma joining the team, Pumandu joining the team, and going up against BLG, who have always been a strong team in the LPL. I mean, that's one you do not want to miss.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have to see how those ones are going to go down in the end. And I'm excited to see what results are going to come across our scoreboards. But that is going to just about do it for us, I believe. Fantastic games, though. I'm really excited for eStars. Yeah. eStars especially, they managed to get a 2-0 on the board. They managed to win themselves some games here. And, you know, everyone was coming in with question marks all around them, not knowing what to expect. eStars showing that, especially in the early game, they're willing to put the pressure on. They're willing to force the issue.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it from teams before coming up from the LDL. Particularly, I mean, Sino Dragons, now Dominus. I mean, this was a team that came up in their rookie year and looked absolutely stellar. eStars now trying to see if they can match that record.
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope we can see them. I want to see eStars against JDG now. The two winners that we've seen here today going up head-to-head. Because one of the big questions for both of these teams for me is, what happens when you're against a stronger opponent? What happens when you're against one of the top teams in the league? Because this is LPL at the end of the day. Everybody is mechanically insane. We've been complimenting some of these players on the mechanics that they've been bringing to the table. But you've got to go up against some of the big names. When you look at, like, the lineups of RNG, the lineups of FPX, IG, these guys are insane. I mean, IG already toppling FPX yesterday. The bar is only going up and up here in the LPL. It's the best region in the world. Back-to-back world champs. There's a lot of work ahead for these players.
Yeah, and I want to see the growth that's coming in from eStars and from some of the newer players that are coming into JDG as well, because it's amazing that we can see this region start to grow as a whole, now picking up two world championships. But the up-and-comers that have come into this have been absolutely insane as well. I mean, you look at some of the players that have come from, you know, Young Miracles, from Royal Club. I mean, we got Xiaolang Bao, who's now playing for OMG as their starting jungler. This is all the new talent that's coming in, and it really does start to shake up some of the older players and go, I've got to really work to keep my spot. And I love to see that hunger coming in from these new players. Yeah, we've got a hungry pool of players, and we'll see who's going to be able to get the dinner at the end of the day. But that's going to be it from us for today. Make sure that you're tuning in next time as well. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight. My name has been Munchables. This has been Dagda alongside me. And with that, we're going to call it a night. We'll see you next time.